You know that feeling, right? Walking into a clothing store. Maybe it's the excitement of spotting something new, or perhaps you're really focused on finding that one perfect thing. A dress, maybe, or a pair of jeans. We've all been there. But have you ever felt that little bit of hesitation, that moment where you're just not quite sure how to ask about a size or, where the fitting rooms are? Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that scenario, buying clothes at the mall. And our mission with this deep dive is simple. We want to give you, our listener, a real shortcut. By the end of this, the goal is for you to feel totally confident, really well informed the next time you step into a clothing store. We're going to unpack essential words, common phrases, and even walk through a practical role play, just to show you how these interactions genuinely happen in real life. We're drawing our insights from a really excellent English language guide, one that's focused entirely on real-world practical language. So imagine walking into a store, no fumbling for words, no uncertainty. That's kind of the superpower we're aiming to give you today.
Exactly. And it's not just about knowing what words to say. We really want to help you understand why certain phrases are used, what they actually communicate beyond just the literal meaning. Because that deeper understanding, well, that's what really moves you from just, saying words to truly engaging effectively.
Right. That distinction is so important. So, okay, with that in mind, let's get straight to it. Before we even think about looking at a single item, let's arm ourselves with the basic toolkit, the words you absolutely need to know just to get started. Our source gives us a fantastic vocabulary warm-up. It's almost like having a quick dictionary for your ears, ready for action. First up, the really crucial stuff. Sizes, you'll see these everywhere. Small, medium, large, and extra large. Often just the letters, right? S, M, L, XL. They sound simple, but getting them right is key for comfort. Then we have colors. Now, obviously there's a whole rainbow out there, but our guide highlights some basic ones you'll hear a lot. Red, blue, black, white, green, yellow. Just your starting points, really.
Yeah, the common ones.
Yeah. Exactly. And when you're ready to see if something actually looks good on you, you need the fitting room. That's the place to try things on. Of course, every item has a faster. Price tag tells you how much it costs. And finally, when you've decided, yep, this is the one, you head to the cashier or the counter to pay. And who doesn't love a good deal? So knowing about a discount or a sale, that means something is cheaper than usual. Definitely a term to keep an ear out for.
It's interesting, isn't it, how quickly these simple words become the absolute foundation for almost any shopping conversation about clothes. Like you said, understanding size isn't just about knowing S, M, L. It's about comfort. It's about fit, which is, deeply personal.
Right.
And if you think about it, these are probably the first things a shop assistant is going to ask you about. So knowing them really puts you in a good position right from the start.
Yeah, it gets you past that first hurdle. And it's not just the words themselves, is it? It's how they fit into the flow of the conversation. So now that we've got our basic words down, how do they actually come alive when you're talking to someone? Our guide really emphasizes politeness, says it's key. Why is that so crucial in these kinds of interactions, especially in, say, the US or UK? Is it just about being nice?
That's a great question. And no, it's definitely more than just being nice, although that's part of it. Politeness in these settings, it basically creates a smoother path for communication. Think of those phrases not just as questions, but as invitations to engage respectfully. When a shop assistant asks, "Can I help you?" they're opening a door for dialogue.
Okay.
And your polite response, whether it's "yes, please" or "no, thanks, I'm just looking," it immediately sets a positive, productive tone. It empowers you, sure, but it also helps build a little rapport, which honestly can just make the whole shopping trip easier and more pleasant. Without that politeness, things can feel a bit, abrupt, maybe even demanding. And that's not usually the best way to get the help you need.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to sound like you're barking orders when you just need a different size.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's dive into some of those specific polite phrases you'll likely hear and probably use yourself. As you just mentioned, an assistant will almost certainly start with something like, "Can I help you?"
Yeah.
Knowing how to reply politely, whether you need help or you're just browsing, that's your first step. Then, if you were looking for something specific, they might ask, "What size are you looking for?" Which, links right back to that vocabulary we covered. Find something you like. They'll almost always offer, "Would you like to try it on?" That's your cue for the fitting room. And if you get lucky, you might hear those magic words, "This item is on sale today." Connects right back to discounts.
And notice the pattern there. They're almost always questions or polite suggestions. Can I? What would you like? It creates this feeling of assistance, of helpfulness, rather than obligation. Imagine if they just said size or try it on. It feels different, doesn't it?
Definitely less inviting.
Exactly. These common phrases are really designed to make you, the customer, feel guided and supported. And knowing them allows you to respond in kind, keeping that respectful engagement going.
Okay, this next bit really ties everything together beautifully. Our source gives us this fantastic role play scenario. It shows how all these pieces, the words, the politeness, actually work in a real situation. Let's walk through it together step by step. Picture this. A customer walks in. They're looking for a summer dress, specifically light blue, and they usually wear a medium.
Mm.
We've all been there searching for something specific, right?
Absolutely.
So the interaction starts with the customer being polite. Excuse me, could you help me? The shop assistant replies right away, very open and helpful. Of course. What are you looking for today? Now, the customer gets specific, which is really helpful for the assistant. I'm looking for a summer dress, maybe something in light blue.
Good clarity there.
Right. The shop assistant guides them.
Oh.
Sure, we have some new arrivals over here. What size do you usually wear? Customer's clear answer. I usually wear a medium. Assistant goes to find it. Great, let me get one for you. Would you like to try it on the fitting room? Customer said.
Yes, please.
Okay, quick pause while they try it on. Then the customer comes out and gives some feedback. It's nice, but it feels a little tight. Now that is such a useful phrase. It clearly states the problem without being negative.
Yes, very constructive.
Then the customer politely asks for the solution. Do you have a large size? And our source points out how polite this is compared to just saying, give me large.
Big difference in
A
tone.
huge difference. The shop assistant helps. Yes, one moment. Here you go. Customer tries the large. Success. Perfect. This one fits better. And now, the practical question. How much is it? The assistant gives the price and adds some good news. It's $45, but today we have a 20% discount. Customer's happy. That's great. I'll take it. That's another really natural, common way to say you want to buy something. Finally, the transaction ends. Assistant, here's your receipt. Thank you, and enjoy your new dress. Customer, thank you so much.
That whole role play, it's just a perfect illustration of how clear, polite communication works in retail. Did you notice how the customer explains the issue? It feels a little tight.
Yeah.
It's specific, but gentle, not just this is wrong or it doesn't fit. And then they propose the solution with a question. Do you have a large size? Now imagine if they'd just said, this is tight, get me a large. The assistant would probably still help, but the whole feeling changes.
Right. It becomes a demand.
Exactly. It becomes a demand, not a request. And that subtle difference in phrasing, it just makes the interaction more pleasant for everyone. It actually streamlines the process because the assistant feels more engaged, more willing to help. It avoids guesswork and, well, it just fosters a much more positive exchange. It turns a simple task into a nice little human interaction.
That's a really great way to put it. It's all about setting that right tone. So, okay, what does this all mean for you after you've paid? Because let's be honest, the shopping experience doesn't always end right there at the counter. Our source has some useful insights here too. We saw some really handy phrases in that role play, like the polite way to ask about the fitting room. Would you like to try it on? And how to give feedback politely if something isn't quite right, it feels a little tight, or just that simple, natural way to confirm your purchase. I'll take it. Here. And again, that polite way of asking for an alternative. Do you have a large size? Super important. But now here's a really crucial cultural point, something that could genuinely save you some trouble later on. Our source highlights something vital, especially if you're shopping in places like the US or the UK. Returning or exchanging clothes there is incredibly common, like really standard. If you get home and it doesn't fit or you change your mind, it's usually not a big deal to take it back. It's just part of how things work.
Consumer rights.
Exactly. And this leads to a very simple but absolutely vital piece of advice.
Which is why the shop assistant almost always says, keep the receipt.
Right.
It's not just them being thorough.
No.
That little slip of paper is actually your key. It unlocks this whole system of consumer protection and flexibility that, frankly, isn't the same everywhere in the world. It means you can buy things with a bit more confidence, knowing you have options if it's not quite right once you leave the store. Think about it. You buy something, get home, realize it's the wrong size, but you lost the receipt. You might be stuck.
Yeah, that's a bad feeling.
So this practice, keep the receipt, it's a really key part of the whole shopping ecosystem in these places. It builds trust between the shopper and the store, and it's just a very practical thing you absolutely need to be aware of.
Definitely good advice. Okay, so you've listened, you've learned. Now it's your turn. To really make this knowledge stick, let's do a bit of practice. Our source suggests something called a shadowing exercise. Basically, you just repeat the phrases after me. It's a fantastic way to get the rhythm, the pronunciation, just to feel how these phrases roll off the tongue.
Get that muscle memory going.
Exactly. So let's try it. I'll say the phrase, and then I'll leave a little pause for you to repeat it. Ready? First one. Can I try this on, please? Next. Do you have this in another color? Then. How much is it? Simple but essential. I'll take it. And finally, linking to returns. Can I return this if it doesn't fit?
Doing that kind of practice, it's not just mindless repetition. It really is building that muscle memory for conversation. The more comfortable you get with these poor phrases just through saying them out loud, the more naturally you'll be able to use them in a real store. It reduces that mental effort, that cognitive load of trying to search for the right words in the moment. And that frees you up to actually focus on the interaction itself, on what you want to find. That confidence it gives you, it's invaluable.
Absolutely. And that brings us towards the end of our deep dive today into buying clothes at the mall. We've covered quite a bit, haven't we? From the essential vocabulary and those crucial, polite phrases.
Right through the role play.
Yeah, through a whole shopping interaction. And even landing on those important cultural tips like why you should always keep your receipt. So hopefully you're not just feeling informed now, but actually equipped. Next time you go shopping, you should have the language and the understanding to navigate it all with a lot more ease and real confidence. Just think about all the other everyday situations where having these kinds of specific language tools could really transform your experience, where knowing the right phrases can turn what might feel like a confusing or stressful moment into a chance for, well, confident connection. It just makes daily tasks so much smoother. Our source actually mentions other scenarios too.
Yeah, things like ordering food in a restaurant, talking to a taxi driver, maybe visiting the doctor, or even making a hotel reservation, all common situations.
Exactly. All those moments that make up daily life.
Which really leads to a final important question for you, our listener. Now that you've hopefully got a better handle on the language for clothes shopping, what's the next everyday scenario you want to master? What's the next interaction you'd like to transform? To turn from just a simple task into an opportunity for connection and really for independence, something to think about. We encourage you to identify what that next personal language challenge might be for you.